June Danaher, Limerick Revenue. This conference instructs the incoming executive to negotiate with management any new revenue sections, example LPT and household charge, are staffed with full-time CO positions and not TCOs. Delegates, LPT is a permanent tax and permanent staff should work in this area. The reason we feel so strongly about this motion is that LPT is worked in many revenue offices, but eventually will be based in Innis. At present, this tax is being worked by TCOs. There are numerous people on the central transfer list for Innis, and as long as the office in Innis is being staffed by TCOs, our members will never get a transfer.
Just to give a bit of background, we have raised this issue with Revenue and sought that permanent people would go in as has been outlined. What Revenue have indicated is that there's temporary peaks in relation to the property tax. And that when it's bedded down, the numbers will go down. So while we will seek to try to implement this motion, I just need to give you that background on it. Thank you.
Betty Turrell, Executive Committee. So why are we recruiting TCOs if there is people up for redeployment in departments? Because what's going to happen is it's going to be last in, first out, and it's going to create more havoc. I think our union actually is not doing enough work and taking this on board.
Carmel Cotter, Clare Branch, completely in favour of supporting this motion. In Ennis, we have 65 full-time COs in LPT. We have 57 TCOs. The 57 TCOs are on straight days. They're not afforded flexi time. They work under the worst conditions, and they just are not in positive working environments at all.
There's a few issues, President, excuse me, have arisen in the debate. Redeployment is obviously a key question for our members, and hasn't been an easy issue for our members, particularly in the Department of Agriculture, as many of you know. Now, at this point in time, redeployment numbers are minimal in the civil service. There is the potential for significant numbers on a cross-sectoral basis. And some of the further staff losses to occur will be in other sectors under the Haddington Road Agreement, such as the Health Service Executive and local authorities. But in the first instance, we're concerned for our own members in the civil service, and by and large, we're dealing with the redeployment question.
Phil Mulvihill at Lone Branch. Now, I know that you asked that it's only for people who don't agree with the motion that really to speak, just to save time. But at the same time, I work down in State Exams Commission in Athlone, and we take on a lot of temporary clerical office in the summer for the exam period, and they certainly are treated very well. They're not treated any differently to anybody else. But I agree with what Betty said. I do not think that the union is doing enough to fight to have full-time employment, or rather to have full-time people employed. The policy of a union has always been to ensure that we get full-time employment, and I know that a lot of those people that are there as temporary people, they're not. They have absolutely no pension, no nothing. So really, overall, they are being exploited.
We've lost the momentum here on what the motion is actually about. I don't have anything against TCOs, but my point is, if government keep employing TCOs, nobody's going to get to where they want to go. Do you know what I mean? And Innis is one of the places where it's like you go there and you're going to die there, literally. That's your last stop. And there is a central transfer list.
And what's wrong with Innis?
Just everybody wants being clear. And I know Paul has had meetings with management in Revenue and whatever, and they have said TCOs will not be employed after December. But who's to believe what they say? I don't believe it. It's not in writing. It's not set in stone. Who's to say they won't extend their contracts again after December? And there's people that are waiting 15, 16, 17 years on a transfer list and can't get there. And it's a full-time tax that has to be worked. So it should be worked by full-time COs, not TCOs.
Thanks, Jim.